So I call the Development Review Board meeting of October the 21st to order. We have minutes, some administrative work that we did first. We have minutes from the previous hearing. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of September 16th.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Dr. Child and seconded by Mr. Valenti. Let's go ahead. Any comments, changes, observations? None of the above. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? I abstain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something. 0, 1. Thank you. Brian, has the meeting been properly warmed?
Yes, it has.
Okay, great. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrative decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. Are you? Let me just check with BCTV. We don't have a picture up there, but is that okay?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah,
I don't need a picture up there, but.
Why we don't have a picture up there,
But as long as you've got whatever you need.
yeah.
Okay, let me just, and Brian, I'm on here.
Cheers.
Thank you. Broadly, this means that we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties, and then we'll issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that, as we're on the record, this is your opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. In the event that our decision is appealed to the Environmental Court, the court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearing, but will look at the evidence from our hearings, the regulations, and determine if the evidence supports the findings and the decisions of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board. So I strongly encourage all of you to speak up at this hearing if you have something to add to it. As we are on the record, we're also going to ask that you affirm that your testimony will be truthful. So would all the applicants and anyone wishing to speak to an application please stand and affirm the following. I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury. I do. Thank you very much. Just a technical note. Applicants require a majority of the full board to succeed. That is 4 votes out of 7. If we don't have a full board present to hear your application, then we will consider a request to continue. I think it's likely that as we have a good crowd here tonight, that we will have a full board for every application. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for anyone's appeal. It should also be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development applications. The town does not have a special status before this board, and any documents provided to the board by the town planning department, the town attorney, or any other town departments will be considered in exactly the same way as information from applicants and from interested parties. So that's the sort of opening formalities. Would any member of the board like to declare conflict of interest on any application or any ex parte communications?
I may have a conflict on application 2013-193, but I suspect it's just a person with the same name.
Okay.
Different John Cobb, though. So,
I have a conflict on 2013-188, John Goodhue. He's a neighbour across the street, so I shall step down for that one, and Craig will chair it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for that hearing, for 188, both alternates are appointed. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Correct. Yeah. So both Rebecca and David are appointed for 188.
I can actually resolve this. Is Mr. Cobb here?
Yes.
Okay, that's not the John Cobb that I have a conflict with, so I don't have a conflict there.
For the other applications, we'll alternate.
Rebecca could take the first 3, and then we'll both do 188, and I'll do the last 2.
We normally go alphabetically, believe it or not, alternately, to keep it confusing. But it doesn't, I mean, we could do 3 and 2. It really doesn't matter. Depends. Let's go alternately, alphabetically. So we'll start with B for Rebecca, or Ballin, and then alternately from there on
She'll
out.
do 171, I'll do 182. She'll do 184. We'll both do
188.
And then she'll do 191, and I'll do 193.
Correct. Perfect. So,
Maybe change to 193.
oh yes, okay. We may have cause. We may have cause in the latter ones to appoint both of you,
All right.
because James has to leave it just before 8. So unless we go very quickly, that will change. With that all being said, I call open the public hearing and call application 2013-171 Delta Epsilon. Site plan approval and conditional use for grazing sheep. If you'd like to come forward and tell us about your sheep. No, to the table. Hi.
So,
We have sheep on Western Avenue.
right.
We don't normally have sheep on Western Avenue. We have
Historically had sheep on Western.
Yeah, we probably had horses too. Maybe the cow or two in history. Typically we control sheep, cows, swine. We don't control cats and dogs. We control chickens and things like that. And clearly this is the first time we've had sheep on the avenue in a while. So can you tell us about why we have delightful sheep there again?
I have approximately 20 Soay sheep. Soay are ancient sheep. They've been isolated to an island off the coast of Scotland for about 5,000 years, so they're undomesticated sheep. They expect to live in the wild, and I'm raising a breeding stock for preservation. I have the remaining flock up in Mains Hill in West Brattleboro, and I'm grazing some 20 at Solar Hill to trim the grass. Expect to return them to their barn by snow time.
Do you anticipate? How long do you anticipate them being there? I mean, is this something which you would see cycling in and cycling out? So they're there for a month and then come out.
I see them coming in the spring and leaving, when the snow comes.
So they'll be there all summer, basically.
Right.
Do sheep make noise? Are they loud? Are they have an offensive odor, profane language, anything about sheep that makes them incompatible with residential neighborhoods?
No, I consider them the ideal
Neighbors.
yeah, neighbors.
They're undomesticated too.
That's
Oh, they're not domesticated?
So are my children.
They're undomesticated, but they're actually very passive. But they're they're absolutely wild. You can't catch them.
Where do they bed down?
They bed down under the solar collectors.
Yeah.
Would you consider the area to be properly fenced?
They're in a very secure fence.
It's 5,000 years old too. In Scotland. They don't look that old. Do they marry in the state of Vermont?
They propagate.
They propagate in public.
In public, I imagine.
Yeah.
There's been four or five lambs born since they settled in there.
At that location?
So,
That's interesting. Aren't lambs born in the spring?
these sheep bear young throughout the year.
Okay. So, your intent is that when the first snow comes, they will exit that, let's call it a pasture for a second, or that location, and return to Ames Hill
Correct.
for winter. And then sometime in the spring when the snow's gone and the grass is growing and there's adequate feed there, or you need to keep it cut, sometime in May, I would presume you bring them back?
That's correct.
Okay. So they're kind of May to October residents.
Roughly, right.
About 6 months, about half the year.
I wouldn't recommend a conditioned approval on any particular
Time.
Yeah.
No. But I'm just trying to get a feel. I mean, they're not going to be there in the winter, and you're not going to put up a barn or a shed or something to house them there.
No.
No. So it's really it's a fair weather location.
Summer grazing.
Summer grazing. Any other members of the board have further questions for the applicant? Any member of the public wish to speak to this application? Please stand up and give us your name first.
Kathleen,
To the microphone.
Kathleen White.
Hi, Kathleen.
My backyard abuts the fence and his field, and
Which side? Your back line? Are you on Green
Hill Park.
Green Hill Parkway. Okay.
And I knew that the sheep were going to come because I spoke to him last summer about how the field wasn't getting mowed, and I was concerned about invasive species and everything taking over. And he said, "Oh, don't worry, I'm going to bring some sheep." And so when the fence started to go up, I figured that's what it was. And I'm sort of speaking for myself and some other neighbors. We just felt like, well, if I hadn't known, it would have been nice to be notified before the fact that it was happening. And it brought up the question of, well, what is the proper procedure? If you're going to bring livestock or sheep or whatever to a residential area, are you supposed to get a permit first? But I have to say that I was upset about the fence, and it was there for a while before the sheep came, like a month or more. And it's upsetting because people use that field, and I know it's his property. I know it's your property, and you have a right to do what you want. But when the fence went up, it just felt like awful, like this barricade. Where it used to be a nice field, now we were fenced out of it. And then when the sheep came, I mean, they're wonderful. They're fun to watch, and a lot of people stop on Western Avenue to watch them, and their babies are wonderful. They do make noise, but it's a noise that I can live with, and I haven't noticed any odor, which is great. So I just want to say I'm not opposed to the sheep. I was just, in the future, I would like it to be done in the correct way, like get the permit before you do it. And also, and this might be something I should talk to him personally about, but...
While you're in this room, you talk to us
okay.
first.
It would be great if the 6 months of the year that the sheep aren't there, if there was maybe another gate on the Green Hill Parkway side so that it could be left open during the winter, late fall, winter, early spring, so that I could walk across the field, because that's my route to downtown and my route to the woods, and that's probably nothing to do with you. So that's why I was sort of saying
Correct.
I probably should talk to him personally.
Correct. So you've had no escaping sheep, no one getting out of jail and eating your
No.
flower or
We
vegetable
did,
garden?
when the fence went up, you know, we thought, well, we'll make it pretty and plant some plants to grow up the fence. And the sheep ate my beans that I planted. We soon found out that they eat everything.
Yeah, I think
But,
beans or tomatoes or anything growing on the fence will be gone. If it's tastier than the grass
Yeah.
that's growing there, it'll be gone.
They no doubt thought you were being neighborly.
What?
They no doubt thought you were being neighborly.
Yeah, providing them extra.
Yeah, and there's just one last question. You said there's no. I mean, one of the things that we're concerned about, particularly with other forms of livestock like chicken or chickens, is aroma or smell.
Yeah. I haven't noticed anything.
No, okay, and you're right next to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I was a little concerned about that, but I haven't noticed anything.
and you've not seen any increased incidence of foxes or no?
No.
The lambs are still there.
Yeah, and they're adorable.
Okay. And thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And the normal process would be to get the permit first.
Yeah.
We are rectifying the situation.
I think some of the neighbors were just concerned that if one person does it the wrong way, you know, or then it would set a precedent. And
We may have to send Bob to jail for a little while, just to make our point. You know, it's not beyond the powers of this committee.
And we have in the past, when applicants may have gotten things a little out of order, we neither punish nor do we excuse the behavior. And we have in the past asked the applicant to undo the thing that was done because we felt we wouldn't have approved it in the first place. And if we felt tonight that we wouldn't have approved the application in the proper order, then we'll ask it to be undone.
So I'd like to say that I did stop in the planning office and ask if there was any issue with sheep, and was told that there was nothing necessary. And so I was surprised when I got a notification that it was supposed to apply. And Elaine intended to communicate with all the abutters, and just make sure that everybody was okay. So sorry if she missed you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak to this application? Yeah, please step up.
I'm Tucker Barrett, neighbors to Kathleen on Green Hill Parkway. And I have basically three issues to address with it. One is the odor factor is negligible so far, but it's been 2 or 3 months, coming into the fall, not in the middle of the summer. So I guess one of my questions and concerns with it has been, is it going to be just a grazing end of the summer through the fall? Now I'm hearing it's spring through fall, so it's half the year. So I would be a little concerned that over a period of 6 months, that if the sheep are there, full time for those 6 months, that odor could become a cumulative factor. Doesn't seem that, and it may be of no concern at all, but it might not be a non-factor either over if this goes on 6 months a year. So far as noise goes, it's negligible. I mean, they're a little noisy in the early morning sometimes, and there has been one. I assume some animal was trying to get in, but a few weeks ago there was, I think, 4 shotgun blasts out in the field. I assume someone was scaring something.
We have no guns, so it wasn't.
Somebody had a pump shotgun, and there was 2 blasts, and then click, click, and 2 more blasts. It was, I think, October 5th, I want to say. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And that woke me up, not just from the noise, but I was concerned, and for the sheep. It seemed, I don't know who it was, but somebody was out there.
That's a matter for the police.
Well,
I mean, there's certainly sorry, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, no discharge of firearms committed
as far as,
within the.
if there's animals trying to get in, that may be a concern. I mean, there's definitely coyotes up in the backwoods.
But
same as anywhere.
But you either have somebody poaching or somebody,
I have somebody shooting shotguns near my house, which is,
yeah, okay.
That's my concern, whether it's a police matter or not. It's something that has happened.
It's certainly not related to whether or not we permit sheep in the field. There's a point, right? It's interesting.
I'm just bringing that out as an observation.
Sure.
I guess my biggest concern with it, I like having the sheep there. I think they're funny and they're interesting. I would like to see some assurances that it's around whatever the appropriate number is. It's 20 this year, but clearly 4 or 5 have been born since I've seen them in the last couple of months. So if you do the math, just naturally, next year, is that going to be 30 sheep or 40 sheep or 50 sheep? It could change the equation.
We'll ask Bob and discuss that with him in a second. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. It's just if it's fine now, let's make sure it stays fine.
Yep.
So, is there a duration of time that's fair, for a seasonal thing? If it's, I was hoping it might be 2 or 3 months, it's going to have very little impact on the area. 6 months might be a little different. If it's 20 sheep, that's fine. If it's 50 sheep for 6 months, it might turn into a circus out there a little bit. It's a fair-sized field, but it is still in the neighborhood and on Western Avenue. So I guess my concerns are that if it grew into something a little larger, it would not be enjoyable.
Okay.
Maybe,
thank you.
Yeah. And that's connected from a basic point of view is just what it may or may not do to real estate prices for the surrounding homeowners. And, that's a real thing to me, for the amount of money we all pay in taxes. If that hurts the supposed value of my house, which I think is overvalued anyway on the tax roll, if that's knocking that down, then that would seem to be a fair concern.
Okay, thank you, Tucker.
You're welcome.
Any other member of the public wish to speak to this application? Yes, please come forward.
I'll try not to cough on the microphone. Susan Belleville on Western Avenue. I want to reiterate Tucker's concern about too many sheep in the pasture. When they first arrived, there were 16 of them, and now there's 20. I would be concerned about overfeeding. I'm also concerned a little bit about the change in the values of properties in realtor. And I would think it would be a wee bit of a concern for some people looking either across the street, some people buying across the street from the field, that it might not be as appealing as it is to others, and it might detract from that and narrow the market a little bit. I could see where it would impact values.
Okay, thank you. So, Bob, there's a couple of interesting points raised there. Let's talk about quantity. I mean, do you see the flock growing, or is it self-limit just because of the size of the field and the amount of available food stuff?
Well, the size of the field should dictate the number of animals on it.
Yeah.
The number there now isn't adequate to keep up with the growth. the sheep are intended to, graze, to give a very nice, appearing level of short growth, and it would take probably maybe as many as 40 sheep to graze that if they were there through the season. You wouldn't want to have a lot more, or they'd overgraze. But in general, in the summertime, the grass grows rapidly, and the alternative is either to let it grow up to trees or to mow it, with some sort of a lawnmower or tractor.
And what are your... Let's say that...
Mr. Chair.
Sorry, yes.
I feel like the concerns are noise and odor. Are there others? As it happens, I've worked on a sheep farm, and if there were 30 or 40 or maybe even 100, I don't think odor would ever become a problem. Noise would, because sheep make a little bit of noise. So I feel like we should condition it not so much on a number of sheep, but on revisiting the permit if there are complaints of noise.
I never like to condition an applicant's use of the property on a neighbor's complaint, because it sets up a scenario in which almost certainly someone would be aggrieved at some point. And I use my property when I bellow out to my children or some other thing quite often to the consternation of my neighbors, and I wouldn't want them to be able to restrain my use of my property in that way. But I think we should do the best we can to identify a limit. 40 sounds like it was a limit that would be not terribly more than the number of sheep that are there now, and might be a self-limiting number anyway because of the capacity of the pasture. Maybe that's a good number to focus on.
It's also easier to work with a number because if the concern is noise, you would take what the average amount of noise a sheep would make, and using a number would limit, in theory, the amount of noise that would be coming from the whole pasture.
Do sheep concentrate is it scat, or their waste, or are they distributing that throughout the field?
They graze.
Yeah.
So they're constantly moving.
And pooping.
Do you think the 40 number covers your idea of what you might get to?
Yeah, I think that would be a reasonable. I mean, I have 2 pieces of property in West Brattleboro, and I have the Delta campus. So
How many do you have total?
at this time, I have about 40.
Total?
Right.
Between your multiple locations?
Right.
Do you envision, in the interest of preservation, getting a way higher number total?
Well, I'm eventually planning to move them up to Canada and populate some land I have up there.
So you have capacity for the excess should they be created?
Right, I get capacity for several thousand.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. I mean, I'm sort of getting a feeling from the board here that we'll put a cap on it, a max number in that location, which allows that location to work, and should it cease to work for one reason or another, then come back,
Right.
or other people will come back. But it seems. What about just your personal experience with noise, or Spoon's experience with noise? Do you think that 40 gets too loud? Friday nights, maybe.
It's pretty. If I don't. To me, these are farm sounds, and they're as natural as a bird. So I'm not, it's not like sheep go into big noise contests or
They
anything.
don't have wild frat parties.
There's an occasional bat, you know, and
Never
go idea that on the board.
The sheep I have up in West
Can you do that
Brattleboro
again?
don't make any noise.
oh, they don't make any. Well, there you go.
They seem like the sheep here make more noise because there's more road noise, and so they have to make more noise.
Are we allowed to say anything else?
Are you? If you'd like to, please step forward, and you have to stand up and I'm happy to listen to you. Yeah.
White, Green Hill Parkway.
Yep.
I think 40 kind of concerns me because I don't think it's that big of a field, and it's probably different in the summer, but they have eaten it down. I worry that they don't have enough to eat right now. And twice that many sheep, it feels like a lot to me, and it would be twice the noise. So I don't know. That concerns me a little bit.
All right. Thank you.
Like maybe 30?
It's not something we've gauged on this board before. Yeah, please step forward. Come on.
Expert.
Yeah, we need a training lesson.
Need some expert commentary.
Hi, I'm
Ah.
Bob Bashford. I live in the other side of Green Hill Parkway, not
Okay.
the abutter side. It sounds like...
The west side.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. It sounds like you're randomly maybe picking a number, 30, 40, whatever. I would recommend that maybe you do a little research and talk to some sheep farmers and see how many sheep are sustainable on whatever the area of the grazing land is. Is it 1,000 square feet? Is it 10,000 square feet? What is it? And what would an honest to goodness sheep farmer say is the sustainable number of sheep for that particular area? Rather than just kind of come up with a number because it sounds okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I missed your name. Your name was?
Bob Bashford. I live at 30 Green Hill Parkway.
Can you tell us how many acres you have there in that pasture area?
Well, I think the fenced-in area is probably about 3 acres. There's a total of 16 acres in that lot. So it's a small portion of the lot.
What's the total in the application? It's got 6.43 acres.
Yeah, there are 2 lots.
Okay.
One is 6 point something, the other is 10.
And the sheep are grazing across both of them, or just one?
Just the 6, the smaller.
In the smaller of the lot, and about half of that, 3 acres of that is in grazing. Yeah, go no, please do.
Where do you come upon the 40 number? Is that based on your experience, or is there some kind of guide you use?
In my experience,
What's your experience, if you don't mind?
I grew up on a sheep farm in Brattleboro.
Now, would these sheep eat the same amount as regular domesticated sheep? I'm wondering whether the sheep farmer would really be an expert or not.
No, these are full-grown weight of a ewe is about 50 pounds, and of a ram 75 pounds. So that's half to a third of a domesticated sheep.
So when you say 40, do you base that on looking at the field as it is now with 20? Is that where that can...
It's as much that at 20 there's a lot more growth there than they're keeping up with. They're eating down what was tall growth, but what I have in West Brattleboro is they keep it to 1.5 inches or 2 inches.
I think that's a reasonable condition.
I don't know if Thomas is qualified to figure out what that number is.
What's that?
Who here is qualified to determine that number?
Yeah, I mean,
No,
we
none of us.
You mean on the board or in town?
Maybe Spoon. No, right now. Right now at this table here.
I would think it's...
Is there a rule of thumb for how many sheep per acre?
Not that I know of offhand, but my thinking is that Mr. Johnson is the owner of the sheep. He is raising them. He's going to the trouble to raise them because they're a rare breed. He has experience in sheep farming, and I can't presume to know as much as he does about this, and nor do I think he would at all care to see his sheep hungry. And so I feel like that number, we had started with 40, which seems like it might work on that field. And he will know when he looks at that field if they've eaten it down to the nubs or the soil itself, if it's an adequate sized field. They'll start eating all the shrubs around the house and everything else.
And the solar panels, probably.
And the solar panel things too.
Any other members of the board, further questions? Gauging or trying to assess the feeling of the board here is that I think that we'll condition it on summer grazing, defining summer as, when it's broadly May to October, whatever, snow to snow, or however you feel, or growth to...
How about winter? Do you supplement the food supply?
Yeah, during the wintertime they get some hay.
But not
on that field.
Not on that, no.
So, a feeding schedule in which you don't need to supplement their feed.
That would be good.
That's a better way of writing it.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miskovich. And the number of sheep not to exceed 40, or the number of head not to exceed 40.
So moved.
Second.
Any further comment, discussion? All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? I abstain. 601. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck, yeah. Call application 2013-182, Allard Lumber. It's mine. Hi, Bill. Please tell us about what's going to happen here. Yeah. Do you need an easel? We can get you an easel.
Well, we just hold it up here. You guys probably don't know the whole history of the kilns, but Allard Lumber's been trying to build kilns for a number of years, and we keep finding things that are wrong with the locations that they choose.
Have we approved other locations?
No, so all this stuff, this is Brattleboro, this is Dummerston. All the kilns are Dummerston until now. Right, originally there were these kilns here, then we were going to put 4 of them up here, and it turns out that these up here are settling unevenly and they're falling apart, so we decided not to do any more up there. And what else we got here? Oh, then we were going to put them here and here, and we got this one. We found out that there's so much electrical and plumbing in that section, we couldn't do that.
So much where?
Plumbing. Plumbing and electrical switch stuff. And so now we're thinking that we should do it in this area here, crossing the Dummerston-Brattleboro town line. Allard Lumber needs 2 kilns by next spring. And partly that has to do with the species of lumber that they're now processing. They're doing a lot of oak. Oak takes a much longer time to process in a kiln than maple or ash or any of those others. So 27 probably tall, 22 tall.
So I'm sorry, our picture in here does not reflect what you have on that board.
No, it's on the web, but not. Have you got a copy of the site plan? Most of our, we've got existing conditions and we should have both, but both Craig and I are missing them. We're missing the proposal.
Proposed site plan. We have existing.
Yeah, you have, Brian asked for 2 copies. One copy of what's there now.
Yep.
And one copy of what we're proposing. I'm only the proposal.
Yeah. We only have the existing one.
Well, so what is it possible to get a copy? Maybe. So, have you got 2 plans, Dr.
Well,
Charles?
there should have been enough copies in the original application.
They've just not gone in our package.
Ah, okay.
That's all. Well, Brian's going to just maybe if you got 2, Brian, or something. So let's. Well, in his absence, we'll start questioning you.
Okay.
Maybe. So are the existing kilns going to be demolished?
No. Well, we think this one up on the hill, those 2 up there may just plain fall apart.
So they're in Dummerston.
They're done.
So they're not the concern. They're not the.
So we're good on the whole side.
So they're not. Yeah.
The plan is to use them as long as possible. These new kilns are twice as efficient, so
Yeah, okay.
one more kiln will replace those 2.
What I have seen the plan that he's about to get. What some of the concerns that I have is that for a development of this magnitude, we're lacking quite a lot of detail, or I would like to see a greater degree of detail, and some of that detail relates to what the book kind of says and that we would expect to see in an application. I know you give us, there was an email response, because I said to Brian when I reviewed the application, so there's a lot of questions that are going to come up here. And certainly we would generally like to see a site plan that shows a number of items, like where the water's coming from, where the utilities are being, where the utilities are located, where the boiler room is, is it steam, where it's being generated, what's being demolished or taken out of service, what's being added, what the grades are, is this thing, as you answered actually, and is it a on slab? It's
very flat.
It's very flat.
Yes, it's very flat. The water.
Where the stormwater goes when it rains. I mean, all of those types of questions.
Right. Well, the thing is, over the years we've been telling you about how all this has been working, so I'm kind of thinking that, I guess the thought was that we didn't need to do that again because we've done the stormwater, we've done the multi-sector stormwater permit, et cetera. All those things, I could have, if you would like them, I can get those to you, that information too.
I think we should have them for part of the record.
Okay.
Maybe, obviously you don't have them now, but that's so we can complete the application. I mean, we quite often, or in a number of circumstances, this board has approved the project, but then asked for additional information that you then come back with. In fact, we approved the project for the extension of the sawmill planer shed, which whenever it was, 2 months ago or 3 months ago, and then said, please come back with a as-built plan or site plan.
Which is actually very good of you to do that because they're still adjusting how that's going to work.
I believe it, and in this case, we may well approve the, if you like, at a conceptual level. But can you please tell us where all this, how this is really going to work?
Well, let's start with one of the questions was lights. There are no lights.
Okay.
The water supply goes to the boiler, which is in this building right here. And actually, it's this part of the building because
when you pointed that.
Back, this is the town line. This is the existing kiln. In the middle of that row of kilns is in the back is a shed that holds wood chips and sawdust that heats the boiler. It's a low pressure steam system. And it gets piped to the the kilns from an overhead pipe. It goes, actually these new kilns will have, will condense some of that steam into water and do a mist inside the thing. And I have no idea why this works, but apparently it's much more energy efficient to do it that way. The boiler itself was designed for 8 kilns in the beginning. There was a fire, it was destroyed, it was replaced with one that can manage 10 kilns. And because these were more efficient than the kilns that they were designed for, probably more than 10 kilns can be used from the existing boiler. We have air pollution permit. All of those things were actually part of an Act 250 permit application that we may have got. But that wasn't as an exhibit for this. There is stormwater runs. They paved the mill yard, or at least a big portion of the mill yard, and this portion right here is pretty much the part that's paved. And I noticed that this line is not on there. It should be. And there are several catch basins throughout that take water to a holding pond and up at this end of the property in Doversburg. And that's again all part of the multi-section permit.
So you make smoke from the boiler from burning the wood.
Yeah.
And you make lots of steam.
Make lots of steam.
Anything else?
That's pretty much it. The steam goes. Insides of the kiln are kind of important, and one of the things the Act 250's been asking me is, how energy efficient are these things? And they give you this little check thing, and it has no bearing on what happens inside of a kiln. And so I've been trying to get the company to tell me what it is, and it seems that much of that information is proprietary. So I'm kind of having, some problems dealing with energy efficiency. The main thing that the Allards tell me is that this one right here is the same as the ones they're going to build. And they know that that one is twice as efficient as the ones they have. Overall time in there, overall energy use is about half the existing kilns. There's steam, there's big fans on there, they're pushing out 600-700 cubic feet of air a minute to these things. The whole side of the building opens up to put stuff in, take it out. So there's a lot of things that are back and forth about how this, in terms of energy efficient, how it operates, all of that.
To Tim's point earlier, I don't know that any additional information is needed to make a determination of the local Act 250 portion of the application, which is pretty perfunctory in this case. But it would be nice to see the traffic and pedestrian access. I suspect there's very little. The circulation and parking.
The parking is all here. It's
sure.
Where it's shown.
Is there any vehicular?
Things just move around.
Is there any vehicular traffic back there?
That doesn't belong to the mill? No. There's the only traffic there is logs. Logs come up in here. They come down the hill. They go through the mill. Lumber comes out here. It gets moved over to this building. And then it gets moved to the kilns. Then it gets loaded on trucks that pull in different ways and go back out. These 2 new kilns, there's not going to be much.
3 new.
They're talking about there's no increase in trucks going out of here because it takes so much longer to do the oak. I suppose if they change the species and do more maple, then there might be some more trucks going in.
Old Ferry Road to
Old Ferry Road,
to 5.
Same access points as before.
Just for me, guys, in principle, I suspect the board is not going to have any objection to building new kilns here, but encourage that the Allard's is expanding and improving their operations. Technically, we're not, although we might look at energy efficiency, we're not looking for detail in terms of whether or not SII makes a good kiln or not. What I know about them, they're one of the top brands in the country, and that's fine. But I'm not going to question it anymore.
Well,
From a site plan
I
standpoint,
guess maybe the thing that brought that on is
Act 250.
would have to
Yeah,
be
at local Act 250, we're not even going to look at it. From my perspective, though, to have a greater degree of information in the site plan in terms of where the boiler room is. I can't. This plan doesn't tell me where the boiler room is. Where the town water feed comes in, where the electricity comes in, how does a steam connection across the yard or however it is. That type of detail. What areas are blacktopped? What areas aren't blacktopped? That type of detail should be on this site plan. Is there a site light? Which is the floodlight, 500 watt floodlight or something?
no lights.
No lights. Okay, so that.
And where the kilns are is not paved with asphalt. I mean, in a sense, this whole area is paved. It's with gravel. But there's asphalt in this area right around where the heavy traffic is.
And not to suggest for 1 second that something would happen that isn't already on this site plan, but on the odd occasion we've had very loose site plans and then the building has ended up 10, 15, 20 feet away from where this board has approved it for one reason or another. I mean, in a way, in some of the other applications for projects of this scale, we've ended up with contractor drawings, or to some degree contractor drawings, so that we know that that's where the stake goes in the ground, that's the corner of the slab, and that's what the contractor's going to work from, and therefore we've approved that site plan. I think I personally am just looking for a bit more detail, and we can condition this such that.
But on the submission of a plan that needs the approval of the zoning administrator and the chair.
Yeah.
You guys can confer.
We can do that.
Also, the property line splits down part of the building. I don't know.
No, the town lines.
Sorry, I meant not the property line, the town line. So I don't know how that affects things with Dummerston.
We have a permit for Dummerston, or not them last Tuesday.
Are you not on that board then?
Yeah.
But let's say we approve it, and then for whatever reason Dummerston is like no, then he can only build
an odd shaped building.
yeah. Right on down.
It would be more concerning. It would be more concerning if we said no and he'd ended up with 1/5 of a kiln.
Okay, I've never dealt with a town line split, so I was just wondering.
There is a kind of problem here that might come up. The SII people say there's no reason not to put this within 10 feet of another building. The fire chief has come up and looked at this and hasn't really gotten back to us, so I don't really know if he's going to allow us to do 10 feet. If he says it's 20 feet, then we're going to have to move it farther into town borough. This space will get bigger, and this will move this way.
Okay. Thus far, I mean, we have the fire department report here, and the only request from the Brattleboro Fire Department is to submit a construction application to the BT Division of Fire Safety. No construction can start until the state permit is received. So, however, the state permit might say 10 feet or 15 feet, and then you move.
It may.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to hedge my bets on that just a little, because again, SII says it's okay, and we figure we can put a fire rating on the shed that's next to it as well. So.
And do you have? I know it's not here in front of us. Do you have a stormwater plan for the? You must do, because you've got stormwater permits under Act 250.
Yeah, no, it's actually a
state
yes.
permit. Sorry.
Yeah, I have all of that stuff. I can give you the whole application.
And then how this particular building will couple or drain into the stormwater system.
There's actually not going to be any difference. It's all paved, it's all relatively flat, all goes to the same drop inlets. The amount of water coming off is all the same.
It's identical.
Yeah.
So, but you're not, I mean, I don't know, for example, whether you're building on top of a catchment basin or whether it's existing. I'm assuming you're saying you're not. Or that you're building on top of a culvert or a drain, or you said that there was issues with plumbing and pipes and...
Yeah, that was there some or other, in this area here, the people who just should know about where all that stuff was didn't really tell us until we went to hook it up, and they said, oh, well, you have this and this. The kind of a corporation history didn't, and that's actually something I really wasn't aware of at the time.
Well, so if we get an overlay of the stormwater, or a plan of the stormwater system, and then we can see whether there's any impact from this or not.
Okay.
Probably isn't.
Yeah, we have, the storm drains are all on that system.
Any other questions from members of the board? Any member of the public wish to speak to this application? Craig, are you good? I'm looking for a motion. Well, we're going to request that you give us revised site plan for administrative/chair approval, which contains the elements, or some of the elements that we've just discussed. With that condition, I'm looking for a motion to approve application 2013-182.
So motion.
Second. Moved and seconded by Dr. Chard. Any further comment? All those in favour?
Aye.
Actually, both of you can vote.
Okay.
Because James left.
That's right.
So, in favour? Those against? I abstain. 601. Thank you very much. Call application. Oh, I got to step down. It's over to you. Oh no, I beg your pardon. Sorry, that's the next one. I've got application 2013-184. I've skipped one. Marble dealership. Please come forward, guys. So you're requesting a flagpole.
Yes. So David Gale and Gary Wolfer are sitting here with me. And we are requesting to put up a new flagpole at the auto mall site on Hutton Road. We've had one there, as many have noticed, over the years. And with the new construction, we need to relocate it.
Where's the existing one?
Right in the middle, toward the middle of the lot.
Next to the old building, is it? Is it in the middle of the lot?
Middle of the, about 30 feet off the building.
It's funny because it's until you get a flagpole application, you don't notice flagpoles around town. And then suddenly you notice a lot of them. And how tall is the existing flagpole?
The existing flagpole is 60 feet.
And in this application, you're asking for a taller one?
80 feet, correct. It's further back. It's 190 feet from Putney Road. So it's back further on the lot, and it's, I believe it's 20 feet from 16 feet from Technology Drive.
Back by the rear entrance, rear side entrance.
You gonna fly a bigger flag?
Well, slightly larger.
So you say you're 180, it's going 180 feet back?
190.
From Putney Road?
Correct.
This, is it really that far back? On this
What's the
plan?
height of your building?
The new building?
What's the height of this service portion? 24? 45.
And what would be the purpose of putting up a taller pole?
Well, it's going to be considerably further back from Putney Road. And we felt that it would be in keeping with the size of the new facility, won't get lost. And the fact that the 80-foot pole itself is much more, it's built a little differently and much more rugged than the 60-foot pole.
So the purpose is to have people passing on Putney Road see the flag.
I think the purpose is, yes, the patriotism of the automobile.
But your building is 24 feet.
Correct.
And why not put a 20-foot or 30-foot flagpole in the front of the building?
We can't locate anything in the front due to the way that the traffic is directed around the building.
Or perhaps a 10-foot pole on the roof of the building. If you're looking to have something that people can see from the road, it would seem like a 10-foot pole on the front roof.
Rick Young, my project manager for this construction project, has had to deal with General Motors every step of the way. And every time we have the slightest change, we wait. This project has been delayed based on their approval of what we do, where we do it on the site. And once they sign off, we have to go through an engineering firm that reviews everything for GM, and it sets us back a couple of months.
You mean they won't let you open the dealership unless you've got an 80-foot pole?
They won't let us change our site plan and say that we want to put a flag on the building unless they approve it. The approval processes.
If for whatever reason this thing should come falling down all at once, is there any structure on your property or neighboring properties or properties across the street, or any structure period, which could be in the area of the fall zone?
Let's see, 80 feet now.
Just the street.
And Gary Wolfer can speak to the structural integrity of the poles.
Yeah, the pole, to give an example, a 60-foot pole, okay, would weigh about 450 pounds. This pole weighs 800 pounds. I'm sorry, 1,200 pounds. So you can see it's 3 times as strong, it's just 20 feet taller. It's much thicker walls. There's about 9 to 10 yards of cement compared to a 60-foot would have a couple of yards. So the poles are meant to last 35 to 40 years. You know, the other ones you see going down the street at McDonald's and all that, they're like 20-year poles. Additionally, that 60-foot's been there forever, and there wasn't any problems with that. When there's a flag on a pole, usually people's eyes go to the middle of the flag. And so that pole is going to look like it's like 70 foot tall. A pole like that's there right now that's, you know, in disrepair, there's no flag on it. It actually looks taller because it's 60 feet, but it's skinny. It's a skinny pole and it looks tall because you're looking right to the top of it. So
Now, I know this isn't a structure per se, but I believe the tallest that we have, I don't know about this specific zone, but I know that in town in general
60.
is 60 feet is the tallest structures that we allow. So is there could you speak to the reason why going above 60 would be in your best interest, going above what precedent has said we allow for maximum height for structures and things in general?
I guess I'd wonder if a flagpole was classified as a structure.
Yeah. It's not directly classified as a structure, but we have a 60-foot height limit throughout the district. So,
it may be a structure, it may not be a building, but it is a thing. It is a structure.
Thing. Yeah.
Let's take a look at the definition. And that's why we define stuff.
What? So, just tell me, or can somebody? Do you know, Joe, where is the existing one right now? Is it right in the middle? Yeah, I do. I mean, what prevents us sitting with a 60-foot pole but the same distance back from the road? Here. This is where I believe we're proposing.
It's not a structure.
Correct. The existing pole would be.
Your current building is like much further forward at the moment. About there? I don't know.
Lights to be removed.
Oh, lights to be removed.
Flagpole, there it
Okay.
is.
Oh, there is a flagpole there?
Yeah. It's in the third row from the road.
Okay, I've got it here. There?
Doesn't appear to be.
So actually, this is the same distance back. This isn't going any further back from Putney Road. We're about, well, might be going 2 feet back or 5 feet back further. That's the existing flagpole. And no, well, 140. Yeah, I wrote 140. That's my writing. I just scaled off from the front back. I think you said it was 190. Well, then the existing one is probably the same. Then, if this is truly the location, they're within.
I came down to put that dot on that map where I thought it was, but I actually meant to go today. It was 190. So it's much further back, probably 50 feet back to the other one.
Okay, thank you.
So what's the word?
It's not a structure. The definition of structure expressly limits poles. Situations like this, I always like to test a hypothesis at its limit. So if we're going to say it's not a structure, it's not a building, and it's not a sign, we're assuming it's not a sign, although Perkins Family Restaurants throughout the Midwest always had really, really big flags, and you knew when you were near a Perkins Family Restaurant because they had a humongous flag hanging right above the shop. But that doesn't seem to be GM branding. I mean, I don't see a flag associated with a GM dealership. So, but back to my original point. There has to be some limit on this site, the height of a pole. We couldn't allow a 1,000-foot flag, right? It just has to be. So that's absurd. Of course, nobody wants to build a 1,000-foot flag. So there has to be. We have to have some ability to restrict the height of the flag that is consistent with the aesthetics of the area. I don't know what that number is, but I think that's what I'd like to talk about is like aesthetically how different is 80 say from 60, especially since, as we've discussed earlier, in the district there's a height restriction on buildings which is pretty high. I mean 60, we don't have any buildings out on Putney Road that come anywhere near 60 feet. So you know, what's the aesthetic difference between 60 and 80, I guess?
You can put a bigger flag. Like I said, the pole's much stronger. The pole, it's bulletproof. It's like the Mercedes of flag poles. Okay, I mean, I've done them in 17 states. The most popular size right now is 80. All the new dealers practically all getting 80s on their rebuilds. I'm doing 200 footers. I'm doing one for the next town in Newburyport in Mass, Salisbury, for a Ford dealer, 100 foot on Thursday, and I'm doing 100 foot for a Braintree dealer, Toyota. But the size is, it's going up, and 80 is now like a medium pole.
That brings up a good point. It's like, if we go beyond what we have classically or previously kind of generally determined that 60 feet is what we like to cap things at, and we come in at 80, was to prevent a new car dealership coming in at 100, and then the next one wants 200, and then someone wants to build a 300-foot flagpole, and suddenly it's flagpole city out there.
What, I mean, visually, I don't have a concept. Although I know your building is 24 feet, so you're or 20-ish, 24 feet. So we're looking at something that's nearly four times as high as the building.
Have you ever noticed the flags that we fly on Putney Road?
No, but
our pole is in disrepair. Our pulley mechanism, the pole is old, so we retired it. But our flags were 25 to 30, 25 feet by 30 feet.
Yeah.
Can I just say something?
That's a big flag, though. That's a huge flag.
It's a big flag.
Yeah.
Not out of the ordinary for a car dealership, but the flagpole they have there now will not take that flag that they have. That's why it's broke. The top is about to come off it. So we took it down last spring because it just won't handle that pole. That small pole won't handle a flag that size. It was dangerous.
But it was designed at the time for flag heights.
So an 80-foot pole, as you're proposing, would hold a flag how large?
Same size.
20 by 30.
20 by 30. How large is the actual dealership sign size?
64 square feet.
54 square
64.
64 square feet.
What do you mean? The ground sign or on the building? The building's 96 and the ground is 64.
So 96, and you're like to fly a flag in the neighborhood of 600 square feet. And I don't know, it seems to be generally accepted by zoning regulations, by the town's zoning regulations or culture, that like a 96 square foot sign is pretty adequate, pretty easy to see. And now you feel like you want to go to a 600 square foot flag so it can be seen. And I'm finding it very hard to reconcile that concept.
Yes, the difference is when you look at a sign, okay, it's up 15, 20 feet tall. If you put someone up on a ladder, okay, where they go on a trapeze and they're up 80 feet tall, the person looks this big. So the flags always look 25% smaller when they're way over there.
So if you put up a 60-foot pole and a smaller flag, it would be just as
It would look just as big as the 80-foot with the biggest.
Bingo.
Yeah. And additionally, so he was putting on that size for years, and there wasn't a problem on the smaller pole. So that is going to look even bigger. And now with the bigger pole set further back with that same size, or in the wintertime, usually we go 15 by 25. So now you're talking 375 square feet instead of 600.
And these are Stars and Stripes?
So,
or is it a GMC? It's only Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes, yeah. Yeah, so I'll be honest, I've done them in 17 states, and every single hearing I've gone to, there's never been a problem with the American flag.
Yeah, well, it could be a state flag.
Welcome to Vermont.
If we come look at the other direction, what's the visibility what would the visibility be from the interstate? You don't know.
You're not going to see it.
You can't see it now. 60 foot.
Yeah, well, you're asking for 20 foot more.
So you can't see the 60. We don't know until the 80 till it's up.
But the
You won't see it. You won't see it.
but the whatever that board is,
The what?
Solar panels will block it completely out.
but also whatever that board, whatever the board is that regulates the signs from the highway, flags don't fall under that, right?
I have no idea.
No.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel decidedly unpatriotic just to like discuss limiting the size of a sign. You know, I'm gonna work through that, and you know, because I do think we need to have some rational limits on the size of flags. And it's a flag, but it still needs to be aesthetically consistent with the neighborhood.
Yeah, there's an appropriate size. If you go onto the internet, as I did, there's an appropriate sized flag for every flagpole. The gentleman there will probably tell you, you go 40 foot high and it's this size, 60 foot high and it's bigger, 80 foot high and it's bigger, and so on and so forth. There are, they scale to the height of the pole, you know, and actually the higher the pole, the bigger the flag. The question I think you're asking, or I would be asking, is this appropriate in this district? Is it in the appropriate size? And
so to Tim's point, and I may have missed this earlier, so if we stayed at 60 feet for the height of the flag pole, we're suggesting that because we may have overburdened the previous pole, the flag that was able to be flown would be smaller than the current flag? Or can it be about the same size?
In other words, the current pole had the bigger size that would go on the 80-foot pole right now. And there was never any issue with people going up and down the street, oh, look, that's crazy, look, it looks, you know, monstrous, it looks out of sight. Sure. There wasn't any issue. And it would look bigger because it's closer, and it has the same size flag, and it's closer to the ground. So the 80-foot further back with that size flag, or in the winter with a smaller size flag, it's actually going to be smaller than everybody was used to than before, more or less. Right. You know what I mean?
But if it was, but could you fly? Could you fly the current flag on a 60-foot pole? The flag says you currently have.
They've already broke that pole there.
Get a stronger pole.
They broke the pole. Yeah. That's why I went to the 80, because it's the next size. It's an industrial pole that will support a 25 to 30.
I'm no engineer, but why can't you just beef up a shorter flagpole rather than make them? Yeah. No.
No, they're made to carry an appropriately matched size flag, and this particular situation, they bought a big one, and then the pole didn't take it, so they might have to buy a smaller one.
And no one on the board still recognizes it in any flag.
Well, I tell you, I don't. There's certain places in town where I do see flags, and I don't want to get into the comparisons too much, but I can't recall, even when I brought my car for service in Automall, whether there was a flag there or not. And probably there hasn't been for a little while. But I do notice flags in other places, for example, in the Price Chopper Mall, and I think it's inappropriately large. I mean, I see it all the time, because you hear it when you're walking in. You're hearing the thing slap. You know, and the what do you call it, the ropes or the steel cords or whatever it is.
But that's kind of another issue besides the size, the rope slapping.
No, but that's how you hear it. You see, I mean, I happen to be walking in the entrance there, and I hear it, and I look up and I go, wow, that's big.
This one's all internal. So
yeah, but I think theirs is too. But I was just saying, I think that's oversized for that location. Personally, you know, that's probably a 40-foot pole, 45-foot pole. Here, I don't know. What's the board feel?
Do we currently don't have any language that even
regulates?
Covers flags, do we?
No.
So there's no guidance in the ordinance currently now, right? And even
so
we're sitting here talking about that we should decide what that size should be, or have the appropriate size. Isn't that really planning's?
Well, in the absence of regulation, it's up to our best interpretation and judgment.
We're perfectly at liberty to make a decision, and we would do it in the context of what's appropriate in the neighbourhood. Yeah. And the neighbourhood would be, in this case, the town or Putney Road.
I mean, it would effectively be site plan approval.
Yeah.
And we consider landscaping and aesthetics and site plan.
Who submitted the pictures of all the other ones? Was that you, Brian? Do you happen to know what the heights of those are? Any or all of them?
So I think they're all about 30 to 40 feet.
I think we also have some other guidance, Joe, in terms of even though a pole is not a structure, we have a 60-foot height.
I realize that.
Sorry?
I got that.
And then we also have restrictions about, in terms of setback and how much ground signs have to be off the boundary line, which
But
is...
that's not a sign.
Ground sign?
That's not really a ground sign, is it?
No, but if you're looking in terms of, this is not a ground sign, it's a flag or a flagpole. But if you're looking at the existing ordinance for guidance in terms of what may or may not be appropriate. But by the way, they're not asking to site it right on the street. They're coming back in 16 feet anyway, which I think would be within that, clearly within the, in a similar basis to that which we would require of a ground sign.
Joe, the one thing about those photos is that's in a pedestrian area of town, so I was quite close to all of those flagpoles when photographing them. There would be a much greater distance between somebody in a car and the flagpole proposed.
Setting the flag back 190 feet, that was what drove that decision? Just it was convenient because the dealership moved back, the buildings moved back, or?
Are there going to be any lights on this flag?
We hadn't planned on promoting the flag.
We actually have,
We are. Yes, I take that back.
So it's uplit?
The light is going to be on the ground and it's in the...
It's actually going to be on the light pole, about 6 or 8 feet off the ground, so it doesn't get destroyed by plowing and all that stuff. So it'll be on the adjacent light pole, it'll shine at the flag, both sides.
Is that a problem? Because that...
Well, though, but remember when they installed the flag at the Gilbert Bridge and they didn't put a light, and we had a lot of people in town that were very upset? They have to be lit if they fly at night.
But the town also says that all lights must be downcast.
I think that would, flag lighting, especially for the Stars and Stripes, would tend to fall under one of the great exceptions for that.
Because it does, it's not going to help the Dark Skies initiative at all.
No, but I'm hesitant to tread into those waters over the...
Well, I mean, they don't throw you in jail if you don't...
No, but it's culturally, it is unacceptable to not...
Or you take it down.
Or you take it down at night.
Right, is that correct?
Yeah.
There's a flagman.
Yes, I mean, it's etiquette, there's no set rule, it's etiquette, it's not popular right now where in the 60s people are stealing flags, for instance, and people never call me and say, hey Gary, someone stole my flag, or they don't call me and say, hey Gary, they're complaining I don't have a light. Almost 1 out of every 25 customers has a light on the flag. And no one asks me, oh, we have to get a light, everybody's complaining, where can I get it, what can I do? So it's not really that popular etiquette, but you can take it down at night. And the other issue is, it's not, people think the flag has to be lit, it's actually the pole. And there's no real amount of light, just as long as there's some light, a little bit coming up the pole, a tiny bit. Could just go up 10 feet, that covers the whole thing, but people don't know that. They think it's a flag, and that's not true.
Because that would take a lot of lighting to kick a light up 7 feet at a 600 square foot flag.
Yeah, it's the pole, but everybody just...
And that just visually tells you there's something up there you should look at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I learned something tonight.
Do we know what the height of the other flagpoles at the other dealers on Putney Road is? There's quite a few auto dealers out there, so.
I'll tell you, there are lacking quite a few poles around here. It's interesting. I could make a field day around here because there's not that many poles. I was noticing hardly anybody has a pole.
It's clearly, it's not meant to be branded GM. Like back to my Perkins family restaurant show, right? But I mean, if all the dealerships do it, I see a flag, I don't associate it necessarily with a GM dealership. Just between us chickens. But why do we want really big flags on dealerships?
Well, you know, just like every, you know, like I said, you might usually everywhere I've been, they restrict the signage. Certain sizes, sometimes just wood, and certain, you know, places. I mean, I put poles in Nantucket everywhere, historic districts everywhere. But flag poles, they're very loosely regulated, and the reason it is because you have the right to put up poles, and there's no one telling you, oh, listen, you can't put up, you know, you got to put up a 10-foot pole. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to show your patriotic, you know, colors. And
But
stuff
if,
like
if I were calling and I was like, I'd like to know where's the GM dealership in Brattleboro. It's not like you're going to be able to say, well, you know, go down Putney Road till you see the really big flag. Like that's.
Why not?
I mean, no. Yeah.
They do that all the time.
But that's not. Now I'm concerned that it's a sign. If it's meant to be an advertising for GM and that dealership, then we do have a sign ordinance on that.
Yeah, I mean, all the dealers lately, like I said, they've been getting, you know, bigger, just like they've been getting, you know, the fronts have been getting a little taller on all the, you know, on all the architects' drawings of the new, you know, layouts for all the dealers. I don't care if it's Toyota or who it is. So everything's changing a little bit, but with the flag back like that, and it's not going to look that big, and you know, and I'm sure if someone, you know, they're reasonable on the flag. Is everybody was complaining, and hey, that thing's huge, it's crazy. You know, I'm sure he's going to do something about the flag. You know, everything's matched to the pole. You know what I mean? If you have a small pole, then you have to have a, you know,
A smaller flag.
You know, etc. But that's the size. Generally, it sounds big, but like I said, they disappear up in the air. I can bet anybody. I can raise a flag, and I can say, "What do you think that flag is?" Everybody's gonna, you know, guess at least 2 sizes down. You know, it's just amazing, you know, how it disappears.
So they wouldn't be able to fly a GM flag. Like, let's say in the future for whatever, because that would be considered sign advertising, right?
That's signage, yeah. Do you ever fly a Vermont flag or any others?
We have flown the Vermont flag above the American flag or below it.
Yeah.
There.
But it would always be a territorial flag in Vermont or
We could fly the
Vermont, the U.S., the Brattleboro seal, the Wyndham County coat of arms,
The Union Jack. I'm in favour of that.
Way down.
You're like low. Okay, let's. I think we just have to. We've beat this one around the bush. Any member of the public wish to speak to this application? Nobody wants to talk about flags. If I just summarise it, so I think either we vote to approve this application at 80 feet, or we put a restriction on it that reduces it to the existing, either the height of the existing pole, which we're told is 60, or the perhaps the height of buildings in the district.
I think
60.
there's possibly enough differing opinion that executive session might be in order.
Are you proposing we go into the executive session?
I am.
I accept the proposal. Let's go into executive session. Thank you. Height in the district. So in this particular instance, the maximum height in the district is 60 foot, which is the height of the existing pole. And we would amend your application and vote on an application at 60 feet. That of course may mean that you wish to recite the flag. I don't know whether you want to consider pushing it as far back as you currently had it on the 190 feet back, but that's something which we would consider and probably approve administratively if you want to relocate it. So I think if one of the things that we considered is the height of the buildings in the area, and that is we don't have a complete, series block after block after block of 60-foot high buildings. Most of the buildings in that area are in the 20, 30, 40 foot height, and we feel that having a flag that goes above those buildings, as in the case of your building, you will have a flag that pole at 60 foot, which is some 40 foot or 35 feet above the height of the new structure you've got there. We feel it's an appropriate guideline for this application. No, we haven't voted yet. Yeah, by all means. That would be very good.
This is an 80-foot pole, dead on the state highway. It's about 6 feet back.
Okay, just come around and just...
And the flag's 20 by 30. Okay? And that's dead on the road.
How far do you think that photo is away from the
well, this will be
photographer is away from the flag?
I took the picture.
Oh.
Today, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Okay. So I was trying to show something. Well, you can see them on the car, the amount of trucks. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 9 trucks away.
So it's probably 90 feet, 100 feet maybe.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
90 feet. Yeah. I mean, 10 foot
well,
wide.
I'm saying, it's all relative to the size of the pole. It doesn't really look that big.
Let me just look a little closer again.
I was telling these guys the story, okay? In the old days, imagine they invented telephone. So you had your farm, everybody had, the sheep farms up here, everything like that. All of a sudden, they're putting all these telephone poles everywhere you can see. Telephone pole wires, pole wire, everywhere you go, every street. The people get used to it, okay? This is American flagpole, and, it's not really anything crazy.
What was that?
That's Herb Chambers Ford in Westboro, Massachusetts. So I don't know if that sways anybody, but I mean, it's not, and this is right dead on the road. If it's back 190 feet, it's almost, 2/3 of a football field back. So.
Any further discussion amongst the board?
So what are you going to do, reword that motion as it's proposed in the warning, or are you going to vote on that?
But it's a conditional approval, so you make, it's effectively, you make that a condition of the approval. You don't amend the application, you just condition the approval on that.
And then a conditioned approval is as appealable as a denial. You can appeal the existence of the condition in the application or in the decision.
Any further comment from an applicant? Any further? I mean, you've just shown us a picture, but anything else? Just.
I guess not.
So I'm looking for, with the condition that the pole shall not exceed the maximum height in the district, which is 60 feet.
Maximum height of a building.
Maximum height of a building in the district, which is 60 feet. I'm looking for a motion to approve application 2013-184.
So moved.
Moved and seconded by Spoon. Any further comment? All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? I abstain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 511. Thank you very much.
A 60-foot building couldn't have a flag on top.
Correct. Because the flag would be
the flag would be above the building at that point.
Or deviated or anything like that?
There's specific regulations for transmission antennas, which we have guidelines or zoning code to support.
You didn't say it was going to have cell antennas on it, did you?
As a matter of fact.
Or hidden inside of it, right?
That can be done. Thank you very much. I am recusing myself on application 2013-188.
I'll call application 2013-188. John, good you. requesting site plan approval and conditional use approval to convert an existing structure into a 5-unit dwelling. Please, tell us about the project.
Basically, my property is currently zoned as for business and multi-use, multi-residential. And I'd like to pull the businesses out of there, the business out of there, and just turn it into residential, 5-unit residential.
Okay. And the business is on the first floor?
The business is in the basement, actually. So there would be no addition to the structure. It would just be putting a kitchen in one unit. Currently, there are I'm zoned for 3 residential units in a business, but there are actually currently 4 residential units.
And you fell on your sword and told the planning department that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you constructed the 4th?
I constructed the 4th in 2010 and got an occupancy permit through the state and everything. That was mainly ignorance on my behalf, not coming to the town first.
Okay. And any changes in the parking, circulation, traffic, pedestrian traffic?
No changes whatsoever. All the parking was put in by Max Car Funeral Home, which is who we bought it from in 2005.
Okay.
So there's a big paved area, asphalt area, and then there's a gravel area for the carriage house apartments. The two carriage house apartments are the ones that were approved by the town in 2005 when we first bought the place.
And you have 11, it looks like you have 11 parking spaces and only 9 are required for the 5 units. So,
yeah, there's at least 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Comfortably.
All right. Any changes, any exterior changes, site plan, any lighting, signage?
Nothing.
And what's the nature of the business in there now?
The business in there now was a tie-dye and screen print business, which is basically closed. The tie-dye business, the woman who worked for me is moving back to Swansea, New Hampshire, and that's the last week of October. On the 28th, she's moving that equipment out. And on November 13th, I'm moving my screen print business to Morrisville, so there'll be no business activity there whatsoever.
Okay. And
overall, it will result in a lot less traffic.
Yeah. How much traffic did that business or those businesses generate?
At the height of my business, I had 4 high school students working for me, and 1 part-time and 1 full-time student, or 1 full-time employee. So there was some traffic. And occasionally I would have pallets dropped off. UPS still comes in and out every day, but that will stop.
Okay. Any other members of the board have questions regarding the application? Any members of the public have questions or comments regarding this application?
My name is Bob Anderson. I'm from Trinity Lutheran Church. The church's property butts up against John's property on the west side and the north side. And the church does not have any concerns.
Thank you for coming. Since the board has no additional questions and the Trinity Lutheran Church supports the project, I'm looking for a motion to approve application 2013-188.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I abstain. That carries 501. Good luck.
Good thing I didn't mention the flagpole.
Yeah.
Well, the sheep. No sheep or flagpole.
You never know what's going to bite you on this board.
Cool. Application 2013-191. Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust.
Yes. Let's be against flags and handicap access on the same meeting.
great sheep on that.
There's a little bit of land in the front corner there where you could put two in, right?
In behind the church there, maybe.
So, tell us what you guys are doing in this application.
I can speak generally to our intent, and I'll refer to Brett for specifics. My name is Isaac Wagner. I work for the Windsor Housing Trust, and we're proposing to do a needed capital rehab to this building, which includes, in this case, some limited site work on what is already a very limited site. And Brett will characterize it for us, but I can tell you that, as with many site plans, it comes down to where do we put our trash and where do we put our snow. And we've had a very long discussion amongst ourselves about how we better engineer this site to manage or to limit the visibility of trash and ability to get rid of it and to replace the snow with a shovel off the walkway. And the funny thing is we've almost come full circle to the original design, and it's almost been a redo of what must have been back in the 90s when we first took over this property. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brett. There's some changes.
There is. So it's a small property, obviously. It's currently a single room occupancy building, 9 units with an apartment. That's the manager's apartment that's in it, so there's a total of 10 living units in it. As you said, most of it is really just a capital improvements project. The ramp itself becomes an issue that's out there now. It's a wood ramp, it's degrading, so we wanted to replace that. And we wanted to manage the trash in a way that we could contain it in its own structure, in its own building, so we could also conceal it as well. We looked at a number of different options in doing that, and what we came back to is a way to try to shorten up the ramp, because right now what we have is a ramp that extends down the face of the building towards Canal Street, and Clark Street will actually continues to drop topographically, so the ramp keeps getting longer. So to switch back and reduce the length of the ramp, we came back to the front stairs, which also allowed us to create this small structure on the Canal Street side of that ramp. And that structure would be enclosed. It'd be a small wood structure that would house garbage and recycling for those 10 living units inside the building. And we were trying to do that in such a way that it would be close proximity to the street, so it could be utilized for pickup, but also be hidden and take care of windblown debris and such. The other thing that we were trying to look at is, we don't have a picture, but there's a large arborvitae that's right. So the ramp is actually right here. It starts at this location, works its way down to a little flat platform, which just switches direction, comes back to the bottom of the stairs. This is a structure that would house the garbage. And here is an existing arborvitae, and this is Canal Street. So the idea was that we would locate it in such a way that along Canal Street, if someone's coming this direction, we would try to screen it as much using that existing large arborvitae as possible.
You said arborvitae, he calls it an existing cedar on your plan, a 12-inch cedar with a 10-foot
Yeah, it's cedar arborvitae, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The issue is that because it's out of the downtown district by a little bit, this lot is, it actually ends up with setbacks of 25 feet off from the road. and it also has a coverage requirement of 55%, even though it is essentially downtown. It's not in the downtown district, or the village district. So by doing this, the structure is, it's closer, it's within that setback, but And it also slightly increases the coverage by 1%. And that's, so we have waiver requests to deal with that. Be part of this application.
So, this new ramp that's going in, is that concrete or is that still wood?
We want it to be concrete.
It's going to be a concrete ramp. So there's a concrete, I don't know what you want to call it. You come off the sidewalk onto a concrete pad, up some steps, and onto the porch. It's a covered porch.
It's a covered porch. The porch will remain wooden, but all the shaded-in area that we have shown here
will be concrete. Okay, and then the trash that you talk about. So am I seeing like 4 wheelie bins or something that roll out to the street? There's no triple T truck access reversing in there or anything.
Not yet.
No. And then there's an 8-foot concrete walkway by that Arbor Vitae. What's that? Is that new or is that old?
That would be new. Currently, you can see behind the Arbor Vitae. Oh,
no, it's there.
Oh, it's there already. Yeah, that one. The kick.
One right here.
Is that coming out or is that staying?
What happens? That will be removed because that's an existing. Currently, what happens is a set of stairs that come up to this deck, and then there's a wooden ramp that works its way down, and then it's onto a concrete landing here that switches back a little bit.
So that
will be removed.
So that pathway is coming out.
That's right.
Okay. And the rest of the trees stay as they are. And you're putting in some bushes on the front.
We're putting in new trees. We're putting in a tree here at the corner.
Yeah.
And we're putting in yet another tree in this location to provide additional screening to Canal Street. And then there's some shrubbery at the base of the ramp.
On the side of the ramp.
Yeah.
We used to have tree people on the board. I don't know that we do anymore. What's a European? It's a European beach, and how big will that get?
100 feet high.
Yeah. What's the foliage?
100 feet high.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice to have a tree there. That'll be the last.
In 100
the last tree coming into down.
European beach are beautiful trees. Yeah, and the wood is even more fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Why did you pick a European beach? I love it.
I'd have to ask my landscape architect. I think she chose because it was the smaller trees for that particular location and how close it is to the street.
And it's a really unique building. Hopefully, the choice was made in part to not screen the entire building.
No, it's a unique. It has a lot of historical significance as the cobblestone. It's actually the only one in Vermont, and there's several. And there's only like 2 or 3 in New York.
You have a shaded area at the sidewalk here, appears, the clocks.
We wanted to replace that as well.
You're going to do the sidewalk too along that at the same time you're doing the rest of the concrete work?
That's on your property? That walk, or is that?
Actually, it's on town property.
You're going to do that? Okay. And it looks like some daylilies up front.
That's right.
So you're looking for what? 2 waivers? 2 setback waivers based on your trash storage shed and
I don't think that the ramp counts as a structure in this instance, but the shed. And then obviously a little bit of coverage, a 1% coverage increase.
Does that take you over the 55?
It does.
Were you over the 50? You're already over the 55.
We're over 59, and we're going to 50.
In some of the stuff we got, the fire department said that they were concerned about the trash, the shed thing being so close to the building.
Could you speak to that?
What's their concern?
Maybe I'll read it for you. Concerns about that. The fire department has concerns about trash bin being so close to the structure and the exit, and that you have to submit a application to the state for labour industry. So it seems to me you don't have a lot to play with.
No.
Well, we have 2 exits, which obviously one is on Canal Street, and then there's the steps where the ramp is. There's the steps.
Right.
So you can come out the door, but you don't have to walk by those trash bins if they, for whatever reason, happen to be on fire or strange way.
Well, this is a covered structure.
It would be.
It's a covered lean-to shed.
If you look on the detail,
Look at the last page, you'll see the detail.
Thank you.
Generalized on the detail there. On the left, bottom left.
And we we also located it in such a way that we wouldn't obstruct the window, which is in that, basically where the work ramp is. There's a window that's just to the side of this structure, so we didn't really want to obstruct that for access.
Would you hazard a guess as to why the fire department would be worried about it? Is it just the fact that sometimes trash self-combusts and...
Well, in our perfect world, we would detach it from the building more because of smell, quite frankly, than fire, but we would put it as far away from the structures we can on an in-town lot. We don't have that luxury here.
What's the side of the building? What's the it's a
in this area, it's stone.
Stone.
Cobblestone.
Yep.
So it's not likely that fire would transfer through that cobblestone. It will not happen.
Well, I'm not going to represent to you that makes it any more fireproof than other buildings. I don't know that as a fact, but certainly, yeah, stone is
hard to light on fire. Last I checked.
But it was from a sighting point of view. What we were, as you know, the lot's pretty limited, so we didn't really want it up on the sidewalk, which would gain actually more separation to the building. And we were trying to conceal it and trying to blend it with the rest of the other items that we're trying to build up the ramp.
What is the roof of this little lean-to structure made of?
Which roof?
Well, just above your...
Lean-to would be an asphalt shingles most likely, or metal.
Oh, above the trash section. Yeah, asphalt.
Do you expect it to remain SRO?
Yes. There's no change of use. And just, again, one of our issues are if you were to walk by that now, or drive by it, you would see trash cans actually sitting out on the porch as it stands now, which is really not an ideal situation for us. We don't like to see that.
The same contents that would be inside the structure. And actually, they would be next to the lift station.
Any other questions from members of the board? Any member of the public wish to speak to this application? That being said, I'm looking for a motion to approve application 2013-191.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Spoon. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? I abstain. 601. Thank you very much.
Good luck, guys.
Very nice job. Nice to see it clean up. Call application 2013-193. John Cobb. Please come forward. Please tell us about your application.
It's to turn the house into a store, to add on handicap access, deck, stairs, add on a barn stand. It's like a 16 by 24 barn stand. We already have the garden center open. We've been open all summer. We've been doing the gardening, flowers, and now we're trying to get the store open so we can expand and be able to go through the whole winter time and sell our canned stuff.
So I'm sorry. So this is on Black Mountain Road. So coming off of Putney Road and head west, and then going on Black Mountain Road, and the structure, the buildings to the right, the houses to the right, and the house to the right. And it's kind of the only house now that kind of sits in the field. And there's one. I think there's one a little bit further up. Up to the cemetery. Okay.
There have been a few there, but then the debacle of the gas station.
We used to have a bowling ring there. Bowling alley.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
not ring.
The old 10-pin bowling alley. Anyway, we digress.
So, so this is an existing use. It's not conditional use here. We're just doing site plan. Site plan approval for your changes.
Retail is permitted use.
Sorry?
Retail is a permitted use in the district.
Okay. But in the interest of full disclosure, I didn't quite understand where this location was. Not in any connection with this matter, but I do represent Cheshire Oil and other unrelated matters, and they are, believe it or not, to the property. I don't think it causes a conflict, but if anyone has any concerns, let me know.
That's it, you go home.
No cutting out this stage.
An elaborate voice.
An elaborate voice. To watch The Voice. The Voice, probably, right? Craig just determined where the property was, and he represents, or his firm represents Cheshire Oil, one of your neighbours, or occasionally does. I don't think it'll impact this. If you have a concern, you could voice it. Okay, thank you. So, just tell me about where. I'm looking at this plan here, your site plan. Tell me about. So the road is here, and the entrance is in front of this building, and you have. How does when someone drives in, how does this work? They come all the way down to the employee parking, which is sort of some boxes all the way.
No, that's for us.
That's for you.
No, the other parking is actually in front of the house.
Do you see remarks parking?
So we got 1, 2.
Little spots that say parking in them.
I've got a peanut gallery tonight. That's terrible down there. Yeah, the spot's marked parking.
Right next to the one that says driveway.
Yeah. So people come in, just pull into and park, and then back out, and away they go.
Yep.
So there's no circulation per se on the site. It's a drive in, drive out, and go.
Yep.
And you've got parking in front of the. It's an unpaved driveway. It's parking at location F. Add gravel driveway and 2 handicap spaces. Okay. So you've got handicap parking in front, in the flower garden.
Yep. It was an existing flower garden, but we're going to change that into a handicap access.
And the handicap ramp is C on the front of the building. What about the kind of things that we ask at site plan, aside from circulation, both vehicular and pedestrian, is relates to the number of parking spaces and whether they're all necessary, relates to vegetation and landscaping, relates to lighting, relates to water, what happens when it rains and where does the storm water go, or where does it all run off to. Can you talk to just some of those things? I mean, as a garden centre, presumably you have...
Well, we don't have any outside lights except for the existing lights that were there.
What happens in the winter, though? If you're going to run through the winter, you're going to light the ramps and the shop or the store? You may not have lights now, but if you're going to open all year round, are you not going to have to light those?
Well, there's already lights out there.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, there's already a porch out there. There's a existing deck and porch. So we have the light that's already there.
That's already there?
Yep.
So there's a light over those stairs?
Yep.
Or under that porch?
Yep. Yeah, and that should light up everything.
Is that a shielded light?
It's up in the ceiling.
Okay.
It's in the porch?
Yep. In the ceiling of the porch. As for watershed, I had Jason Evans Construction come over and he looked at everything and said that what we're doing really isn't changing any of the land. We're pretty much just putting gravel on top of the land that's already there. And it's all, the driveway and everything is all flat. Up to the handicap parking goes up probably 6 feet. But watershed wise, it wouldn't change anything that's there.
And can you have handicap parking constructed of gravel and a gravel path to the ramp? Is it?
It'll be sure packed.
Okay. So wheels will be able to roll over it, not loose gravel.
Yeah.
Okay. in the operation of the farm stand, you'll just throw the garage doors open, and that's how folks will access that. Is that's meant to be retail sales on the farm stand?
Yeah.
Open up the doors, people come in.
Yeah, for the, spring and summer.
Yeah.
Some of the fall.
And any deliveries of products, I imagine some products will come from off-sites, not all just...
I'd say some, but this whole year we've gone and picked everything up.
Yeah.
We found it's a lot cheaper to go get it than it is to have them send it.
Okay.
So I think we've had the UPS trucks been there 3 times the whole summer.
Yeah. And how about the what kind of retail products will you sell out of the farm stand? Just produce that you grow, or cheeses and other things?
Out of the store, we'll be selling cheeses and stuff.
Okay.
Out of the farm stand will be mostly what we grow.
Okay.
We're thinking about doing like a half of what we grow and half from another farm area.
Okay.
So we've been talking a lot with Dwight Miller Orchards, trying to see what we can do with them.
Will there be a flagpole?
I was thinking that. Because we're really close to the highway, so if I put up 100 footer.
Does any portion of this remain residential? Or is it residential now?
I think it's all been changed over now.
It's all going to be, so it'll all be commercial space.
That's funny. This is now commercial, and if you go up 50 yards and to the south, that whole commercial area that used to be the Comcast, I think that's all residential now.
Yeah, they went back.
Yeah.
So there's no residential at all, period.
I don't believe so. I believe that it was all changed before.
But
I mean, is there someone
living there?
No one's living there.
So then,
You guys, that was your mother's place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
For a while.
2008, when she went to the nursing home,
Yeah.
and I just kept the house the way it was, and nobody lived there.
because one of the concerns is that if there is to be any split between residential and retail, you're exceeding the required parking by enough that, let's see, DRB will need to find that there is a significant need for such additional parking, which is too beyond what is required. So, I mean, was it technically changed? When was it changed? Or could someone still conceivably live there? Was it actually like permitted changed to a commercial building?
Isn't that what we're doing?
No, well.
No, well, we're just dealing with the retail and farm stand spaces.
Is a residence not permitted? I thought a residence was permitted in a commercial district.
It is, but what we need to know is it going to continue to be split residential retail, and if not, it needs to formally be made into a commercial space, right? Wouldn't they have to get something else for it to be 100% commercial?
No, you don't need a change of use to go from one commercial use to another. You do need a site plan to conform to the proposed use of the building. So even though you're here saying we're going to move from residential to commercial, there's no requirement to get permission to do that other than to get an approval of the site plan for any exterior changes to the property. But to your point, I think it's assumed then that their site plan conforms to its existing use. And I suppose we could condition the approval that no residential uses would be permitted in the district without a change to the parking and the request for it to change to parking.
The town notes refer to a second floor. Is there a second story here, or was it?
Yeah, it's 2 bedrooms upstairs, but it's
It's in the
They're not full walls, it's the actual just,
It's like an attic
like
space.
an attic space.
And you are going to utilize that for
I'd
what,
say one
office
room-
space or something?
One room's the office and the other one is supplies. For storage. Storage.
My only concern with the parking is long term, we have laid out in the Putney Road Master Plan that we would like to reduce excessive parking beyond what is required in that district. And if we're only requiring 7 and they're asking for 9, even though we can approve it, it does go somewhat against what we have stated, the town has stated they would like to move towards, which is less excessive parking in that area.
What would the goal of them having 2 less spots be, so they could have less customers, or what is the ultimate thought behind that, do you think?
Well, it's what it is it's ideally to, over the long term, reduce visual blight from parking and to reduce stormwater runoff, and in hopes to, over time, move towards a more pedestrian-oriented development in that area, more multi-mode district rather than being so heavily automotive dependent as it is now.
I suspect the origins of that thinking were the vast seas of asphalt in front of the shopping centers. I'm not quite so sure that what we're looking at here is the same kind of visual urban blight or suburban blight that the plan is addressing.
But when they sell this to a car dealership,
I hope I'm not here.
So it's all sure pack, is that what you're saying?
Just the handicap.
Okay, so out front, it's gravel.
Would be gravel, yeah.
so to get down to, you've got employee parking somewhere way down here.
Yeah.
To get down there, it's just across dirt, is it?
It's all gravel.
All gravel. It's loose.
Yeah, well, it's all gravel up to where the existing greenhouse is right now.
It's just currently existing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's grass.
Yeah, and then it's grass.
So the farm stand's in a grassy area.
Yeah.
And where that employee parking is in a grassy area.
Yeah.
And what about pedestrian access from the road? Would they be would pedestrians, if
They walk across the
they would
field
be,
right now.
if someone was to come from what would be conceivably the entrance of your place, they would be going down the vehicular traffic?
Yes.
They walk across the field, just anyone off Putney Road, just come straight across the field.
From McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. It's casual.
We love it.
You didn't hear that part.
You don't represent the client on that field, do you? Not one bit. Any member of the public wish to speak to this application? There are only 2 members of the public here. Do you like it? Think it's a good idea?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea.
An even better one. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the application 213-193.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Who seconded it? Spoon or yeah, David? Spoon seconded it. Any further comments from the board? Hearing none.
Peanut gallery.
All those in favour?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those against? 0. I abstain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good
We'll
luck.
send you a piece of paper with, all the bits and pieces on it. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.